Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to the sadly last update for Max.
I wasn't expecting that.
So, look, as many of you know, Max has decided to leave sunny Virginia for sunnier and warmer California to open a business with his father, which is friggin' fantastic. We are very sorry to see him go. He's been obviously a very important part of CSE, of CU, of the depths, bringer of fruit, of course, and we are very sorry to see him leave. So, Max, in front of the audience, thank you so much for everything you've done. Thank you for being a part of the team, and we wish you absolutely nothing, but the best going forward.
Thank you, and same to you guys.
So, that said, let's get to the update. Now, the update's going to be a little different today. Actually, before I talk about the difference, let me also say one thing first. So this update is pure CU or Unchained Engine stuff. Now, the reason for that should be obvious to everybody. We are going to make sure that the Friday updates stay CU related and CU focused, CU only. We will be doing, of course, or including any work in the top 10-ish that applies just to the engine, because it would be silly to have 3 different streams. But this is only going to be a CU stream. That's the intent now. That's the intent going forward. So that said, normally we have a top 10-ish. And actually we don't today. We have War and Peace. And I kid you not. And you're going to sit through it. So I hope. Look, over the last 3 weeks, people have justifiably been worried about a commitment, our commitment, the investor's commitment, whether I should be committed, to Camelot Unchained. And even though we had said, hey, don't worry, blah, 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 that's a phrase that's heard way too many times and uttered by way too many people, usually followed by, hey, don't worry, you're fucked. That's not the case, not only with CSE, but also not with CU. And this update, again, War and Pieces, is indeed, I hope, the first step in regaining some of the trust we lost from many of you over the last few weeks. So that said, prepare. Item number 1. Yes, hydrate. Yes, hydrate. To quote the late, great Leslie Nielsen, I picked the wrong week to give up sniffing glue. Anyway, number 1, Cherry Keep, update. Updates. Deadlocks, hitches, and fixes. Deadlocks, hitches, and fixes. Oh, we could probably set it to music. A, gameplay, fixed siege engine, damaging buildings, and issues with NPCs dying while controlling siege engines, and building damage causing tons of error spam and noise. B, Andrew has been hard at work on performance. He designed a new algorithm for our scene queries. It gathers all visible and shadow data in a single operation, resulting in a 40% performance improvement, in the most expensive phase of rendering when there's a lot of characters or blocks around. Huh. Are there a lot of blocks in the Cherry Keep? Oh, yeah, 9.5 million. And characters, well, 1,200 plus. As you folks know, from when I've been doing the running of the NPCs, we went up to like 18,000. So, what does that mean to all of you? He also worked on improving interactions of UI and rendering for a flat 3 milliseconds off the top of all our frame times. And what that means is when you're by yourself in an empty field, frame rates exceeding 350 FPS are now possible. In other words, your performance in the Cherry Keep, your performance that you'll see in the upcoming scenario, the performance that you'll see in anything you do in Camelot Unchained has been improved. On the server side, he also converted a lot of very old database queries to run asynchronously. This greatly improves throughput and scalability of our web API endpoints. Lastly, he converted our adaptive order independent transparency, other words AOIT, to use Z-ordered tiles, and we have a link to it for those who want to know what the hell we're talking about, resulting in a 5 to 10% FPS improvement in scenes with many levels of transparency. In other words, while you have all the VFX going off, while you have all the cool stuff that Cross is doing, while you have all the cool stuff going on behind the scenes, it's going to look better and improve, and its performance has improved. Finally, a number of hitch and deadlock issues have been resolved. We are still working to resolve others. So for those of you who saw my Cherry Keep stream, there were obviously occasional issues, and we've knocked most of them out of there. Now, that was only one. God, this is going to take a while. Whose idea was this? Oh, gee, mine. Okay. 2, Cherry Keep art updates. Lighting. Adjustments to lighting are underway. You may see a difference next time you see the Cherry Keep with newly made adjustments. So this is one of the things, obviously, we've worked on before with the Cherry Keep. We worked on with Ragnarok. We've been telling you folks that we know we wanted to keep improving the lighting model. So that's something we've been working on. Material fixes and updates. Yeah, this is a nice one. With the improvements to material rendering, we are updating many assets to correctly work with the new tech. All characters and current armor pieces have gone through an updated pass. Environmental asset improvements are well underway, and from rocks to trees, we are making not only fixes, but upgrades to make for stronger looking lands as we move forward. Now, you know, a lot of you, some of you, depending on the day, have talked about that this game's graphics have certainly improved, since a few years ago, but not as much as you would like. Well, this is all part of that. Animation. Not only will you notice the new materials on your Realm Cape, in other words, hey, wait till you see the new Realm or the improved Realm Capes, but animation has made fixes to capes and skirts. Animation team has also been making refinements on movement sets and various other character animations. Again, this is something else that a lot of you have talked about. It is something we said we'd keep working on, and as we have been showing, obviously the animators are more than qualified to do a really good job there. Siege. Projectiles now have updated models with VFX refinement pass. In other words, make them look prettier. VFX. Not only is refinement work being done on the Siege projectiles, but fixes to player abilities. VFX can also be found, such as the TDD Druid Primal Chaos ability VFX. 2D, number F, point F. The team is fired up with everything planned for CU, and the art team is reflecting that in a fresh new illumination piece for the patcher. In other words, new patcher art, kind of cool. G, UI. Branching off from the patcher, we are in the process of cleaning up character creation UI assets. This includes new backdrops and upgrading various other old art assets. CSS updates, courtesy of Mr. Q, are also part of improving character creation. 3, Overmind additions and updates for upcoming scenario. New features are planned and being implemented to support the in-progress RVR scenario. Improvements include, but are not limited to, scripting support for Keep Lords. Wait, did I just say that? Keep Lords? Plots and item-related upgrades. Improved dev tools to allow faster designer iteration on scenario scripting has also been in the works, and other stuff too. Number 4, item model swap. We also added the ability for an item to change the way it looks versus, via scripting. Not particularly sexy sounding, but kind of useful. Number 5, new CU scenario. So Ben wrote a it's in caps even, thorough write-up of the new CU scenario. It talks about what we are planning, what's in progress, and the current state of this scenario. So we'll be showing you some of this information certainly during the Friday update, as well as a piece of art, giving you an idea of what to expect. Number 6, state of pathfinding. So Lee continues to develop our custom 3D dynamic nav mesh system with particular focus on interior building elements and similarly complex constructs. His recent victories in solving some of our very difficult issues with multi-level structures have brought us closer to have a fully functional system for NPC pathfinding in our, and I love this, arbitrarily complex CU environments with user-created structures. And that's the key. You know, pathfinding for a simpler game is, by definition, simpler. CU's a bitch and a half. I mean, you guys can make anything you want out of blocks anywhere you want. And so pathfinding for it is a lot trickier. If, say, this was a simpler game, or just a game without the player's ability to build things, pathfinding would be so much easier. But literally, since you can put blocks anywhere, since you can build ramps anywhere, as long as they, hold up under physics, the normal things that you do for pathfinding just don't apply. So this is a tremendously important thing to do when you look at the role of whether it's keeps or towers or inns or anything else where you want to have NPC guards or other things that walk around and are thankfully not as dumb as our old NPCs were. Number 7, skirt rendering fix plus 2 bone skinning update. Mike D fixed a long-standing issue with character LODs in which lower LODs cause problems of the character geometry to be associated with the wrong bones in the animated skeleton, resulting in some pretty bad visual artifacts as the character moved through the world. This was especially bad with auxiliary body elements like skirts and capes. In other words, it was pretty ugly at times. It isn't anymore. This skinning fix includes new support for having 2 bone influences per vertex in the mesh, whereas previously only 4 and 1 bone skinning was supported. This also provides a nice optimization of near-camera characters in that they no longer need to suffer the expense of computing a full 4 bones of influence per vertex. The final result is players will see smoother transitions as other characters on the screen change LOD levels as a result of becoming closer or further away from the camera. In other words, lotting. We all know what that means. When you looked at CU and you looked at the capes, you looked at issues we were having with skirts. Now we won't have them, or at least not the ones that Mike is fixing. So again, thank you, Max, making the game look better. NPC updates for CU. Update to defend spawn positions. New improvements allow for Overmind scripted controls of where NPCs will defend, as well as improved aggro controls to allow defining when an NPC will drop targeting and return to the defense location. Kind of important for the game we're making. Dragon implementation for CU. The Wyvern is in the works, as John is currently in the high poly stage and concept art for the various material variations. Paired with the new CU scenario, we are getting some realm-specific, dragons, really wyverns, on hand as part of the experience. To do so, Spidey has been looking at getting them up and running as NPCs. They have currently been a client effect for ambiance, but now dragons will be synchronized as they become a full NPC entity. This is paving the way for them to be able to be script controlled by the Overmind, as well as becoming combat-enabled entities. Number 10, gameplay updates. Update to current CU characters. Support. Support got some much-needed love this month from the gameplay side of things. Anthony has been driving significant improvements towards how songs currently handle themselves, as well as how dynamic components interact with song abilities. These changes address a few notable bugs and problems players were experiencing. Song effects should stop and start much more consistently than before. That's a good thing. Players should see less UI spam from the fly text for starting songs. Fly text for songs starting more accurately describes what is happening. Songs with dynamic components should now have their effects stick around the correct amount of time now, without interfering with any new songs started and without getting stuck on forever or only partially carrying over. Instrument components are now obtained from the equipped instruments themselves, much like the Mage's Foci, and the instruments are required to be equipped. Unfortunately, in quotations, stamina costs for various interactions between song components are still going to be wonky and not correct. Surprise, right? Things not all done by today. This is caused by the somewhat unique expectations for how these parts are intended to interact. There is a fix for that, but there are some concerns, so we're going to be looking at that. In other words, work in progress. These changes, so those changes being channeling. Oh, okay, hang on. Fortunately, this fix may prove to be unnecessary, as there are some future changes coming down the pipe that will make it irrelevant. Those changes are channeling. Obviously, you folks know we haven't had any channeled abilities in CU, and now Matt has provided a lot of the structure for supporting fully channeled abilities. There's still some more work to do to get that tech fully fleshed out from end to end, so animations and effects work cleanly, and we have all the little features we want to support. But once we sort that out, Anthony will be converting songs over to the channeled abilities. This will be another evolution of the initial updates and fixes already being done to song abilities that should help bring them to a point that starts feeling pretty good. Okay. B, because there's more. So much more. Plans for the Devout class, Anthony and Ben. So, the Devout Trio is a set of classes that fill the role of hybrid healers. Each of the three classes, one for each realm, has the potential to both deal damage and heal allies. While their damage and healing potential is not equal to obviously a pure damage or healing class, they excel at filling both roles at the same time and can shift from focusing on one to the other, providing excellent flexibility in combat engagements with the emphasis of a group. God, this is like a sentence I would have written. It goes on forever. May need to shift from defensive to offensive and back again in accordance with the dynamic threats and opportunities that arise. In other words, it's a great hybrid class. If you like hybrids, you'll probably like one of the Devout. The Devout class for the Arthurian realm is called the Hey a Bit, minus the hey. In addition to basic life magic used for healing. All right, I think we just have to keep with that. The Hey a Bit also focuses around the consumption of alcohol in order to cast powerful radiant magic spells. One of the unique aspects of the Abbot is their shaped components, which allow them to empower themselves or allies with some of their life or healing runes in order to trigger when dealing or receiving melee damage. I think they probably meant in order to trigger them, because, you know, if we're going to have the Abbots triggered all the time, the game is just not going to be a lot of fun. I mean, it's like, don't trigger me. That won't work well. The Devout class for the Tuatha De Danann realm. See, this is one of the worst things about Max leaving. I mean, he's the only one who knows how to pronounce some of these things properly, and I'm going to miss the faces he makes when I pronounce the things. So, once again, the Devout class for the Tuatha De Danann realm is the Blessed Crow. This class has a unique mechanic of deploying cauldrons in order to relay the effects of the spells affecting multiple targets in an area. The Blessed Crow uses a combination of life, death, and spirit runes to both deal damage and heal themselves and their allies. The Devout class for the Vikings is the Hellbound, one of my personal favorites. I don't know why. I think maybe because some people were saying that to me over the last few weeks. Get it? You know, you're going to hell. Oh. Playing the Hellbound is a balancing act of switching between the use of life and death runes, each of which empower the other. If you don't spend too much time, swapping back and forth between damage and healing will yield the best results if you don't spend too much time on one or the other. In addition to the typical ranged spell shapes, The Hellbound abilities also include special melee attacks, letting them apply the effects of their runes very effectively in close combat. The current state of each of these classes is not yet implemented. All their initial traits and ability components have been designed, though, along with their class-specific focus items, and we have done an initial technical review, calling out any obvious difficulties or features to be programmed. Programmers and artists are keeping busy until the implementation begins, which should be shortly. Our concept is underway, designing the weapons and items to arm your devout class character. So Cube updates. This month, Matt first addressed several issues that were blocking the Builders Brigade based on the list that member Scott Florence diligently put together. So we usually call out Trivial for his great work. So Scott, same with you. Thank you so much for what you've been doing with us. Andrew worked on pushing a much enhanced Cube building block material pass. Joseph is also taking a look from the odd end, looking to update the Cube selection pools and creating a stronger structure as we expand in the future with more selections. Something's missing, like my section. Okay. Testing scalability. I'll just have to make it up as I go along, though I remember
What's
it.
new about that?
Yeah, I remember it, so that's fine. Testing scalability and performance updates. We added serialization tests for world update database models for both BSON and JSON formats in order to ensure the new caching system for world data will work correctly. There's also a new client resource for status data to take the pressure off the web API server. And thank God, because you talk about triggering something. It gets triggered all the time. We've set a robust, number C or C, we've set up a robust and extensible load testing framework for the web API and assorted services that we already used to prove out, load, and improve performance around authentication, game server loading, and data calls. We've identified and fixed a half dozen bugs affecting server uptime, allowing our servers to stay up longer with fewer issues, load zones more reliably, and start and stop scenarios more reliably. We've added redundancy to our patcher web servers and resolved several issues with scaling them, which also improves patcher uptime. And finally, for 11 until I get to 12, which is not on here, and I realized why because I pulled an older version, the unit testing suite has grown as we're adding more tests around warbands and fleshing out the scalability of the grouping system. So, 12, crafting. And hopefully, I'll get a chance to write this for Max's also last newsletter. But I've been spending a lot of time over the last couple of weeks on the crafting system. If you've been on the forums, you'll see the thread or a couple threads that I'm commenting on that work. It is really everything from infusions to soul shards. So I've got the basic infusion system all spec'd out, working nicely. Now I go into the balance phase and put in real numbers and not the fake really high numbers so I can see when some number is off. But I've got infusions working really, really nicely. It's playing very well with alloys. There are a lot of rules I've set for the use of infusion, so it's not as simple as just going, okay, you take essence of this, essence of this, essence of this, you put it all together and out comes something. As you folks know, one of the things, sorry, that I've been saying forever, and this goes back, even to Warhammer, is that I wanted to create, a really great crafting system. One that gives a lot of control to the crafter. Allows you to create very different items, in theory, than other people, and rewards the full-time crafter. And infusions are a big part of that. Your ability to customize things and to, figure out how things work is going to be important. And on the forums, I've been talking about something called the RGB system, which is actually an idea I've had forever on how to make crafting very, very customized. And first pass at it has actually worked perfectly. I'm surprised at that. It means something's wrong. But when we talk about that more, I think our full-time crafters are really going to like it. I also started laying out some of the things that Soul Shards as well will do for the crafting system. And yes, we want to get infusions up and running within the crafting system. I'll also be going back to the crafting formulas for alloys, and start also plugging in real numbers. And our hope is that with that new scenario that we're working on, is that crafting is going to play an important part in that as well. So that's it for War and Pieces. As you can see, there were just a few CU related items, yes, on it. Lots and lots of gameplay, lots of things that are necessary for gameplay. Kind of hugely focused, as we said we would be, on CU. And as such, we've touched everything from hardcore tech to art to design, to gameplay, and again, and more. I told you this 3 weeks ago. I assured you, our backers, and other people who are listening, that, we weren't even close to abandoning CU. Over the remainder of the 90 days, our goal is very simple. Well, actually it is very simple. It's just kind of hard to do. But it is very simple. To have a scenario which can run under Linux 24/7, which has a full game loop with crafting, with combat, with building, with destruction, that you folks can play in. It is intended to be an island. It is intended to be somewhat nostalgic, and it is also, more importantly, intended to be an absolute first pass at what your experiences can be like in a game where you are, going between islands until you can bring them together. We will have the Devout up and running, we hope, by then. Hopefully we can get it up even sooner so we can go to the next class. And we've got other things coming as well. I know that the last few weeks have been hard. I know that, back in the first week, there was a lot of anger. And I know that still exists. I'm hoping, and I'm asking you all to look at what we do, look at the commitment, look at what we are not just spending on CU, in terms of cash, but of time. For those of you who have been our testers in Ragnarok, you can even jump in on the forums and say, yeah, they haven't put anything up there, that's new, other than tweaking some art. We've been devoting, as we said we would, the time to CU that we promised. And so, I hope you like what you see. I hope that goes a long way to restoring the trust you had in us and in me personally, because we certainly haven't given up by any stretch of the imagination on CU. And as you can see from the things even that Andrew's concentrating on, performance in things like the Cherry Keep, that's a really unique thing for CU. We don't have any other, building destruction in that other game. It's a CU and Cube thing, or even the time we're spending on Cube. We've always said that we were going to work on tech and make sure that tech was, really solid. And if you go back over the last 6 months and you look, or 7 months at this point, and look at the updates we were doing, they are laying the foundation for what we did, not only over these last couple weeks, but for what's coming, down the pike. So hopefully you enjoyed this update. It will certainly not be the last CU update, except for Max. Is that enough guilt? Should I?
It's only 4 times in one stream so far.
I think I can probably do it a couple more times. And I hope you'll like what you see. So that said, we'll do a Q&A. It may be a short one because I really want to get that infusion and crafting update for the newsletter, but we'll see.
Okay, first things first. Is there a test this weekend?
No, there will not be a test this weekend, not of Camelot Unchained. The reason why is the scenario is not ready yet. It wasn't supposed to be ready yet. It's not like Ben hasn't been working hard on it, but it's not ready yet, nor Andrew's fixes have been tested and live yet. So there's no point in doing a Cherry Keep test. Once we push the new build, then yes, we will absolutely go back to the Cherry Keep for the first test, unless the scenario by then is is ready to go.
Brando2 asks, would the rumored Devout Res ability follow the rules of ability building with component variations or be more unique?
The plan is everything should follow ability building.
Dino asks, with Max leaving, is the position of Snackmaster Supreme open? I'll hand you my resume tonight if it is.
We actually, have a friend of Andrew's who's going to be helping us out a couple of days a week, just on the Snackmaster. And, Max is one of the, many people at CSE and back at Mythic as well, has a few jobs, has a few things he does. So there's no hope of, finding quite the same person. And we were fortunate that, again, a good friend of Andrew's and, and Shannon's, volunteered to help out a few days a week in some of doing some of Max's things. But I appreciate it.
Herds the Word asks, what is the ETA for the new scenario?
Haven't asked Ben. I'll ask Ben and, see if I can get it in the update, assuming I remember.
Iron Nightingale asks, are there any plans on reviving the user stories section of the CU website? I really like to see how CU is making marked progress toward tangible goals.
Yes. I thought the user stories was a great way to tell things, and I think we obviously, warning, understatement, to do a better job of communicating exactly what we're working on for CU. And so we will be doing that. Now, we also hope that the work will speak for itself. Certainly, when we have a scenario running 24/7 or even 24/3, running under Linux, stable, spinning up new, versions of itself when it needs to, I think then I hope all of you see exactly why we were doing what we were doing.
Bushazord asks, when can we expect the work to begin on the Crafter class, and is it expected to be testable and playable in Beta 2 or Beta 3, etc.?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, God, no, yes, of course. Right now I want the crafting ability still to be on everybody so they can, makes it easier for them to test when we say, hey, can you just test this stuff? But no, we want to get the crafters in. If we don't get them in as the class after the Devout, we'll get them in after that. There'll be there'll be so much for them to do by then. That's a guarantee. And I can say that because I'm writing the, all the stuff in the spreadsheets.
Darlgon asks, what percentage of the Linuxification is done approximately?
I have, off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. The reason why is that we have Linuxification of different servers. So things like the game server, the physics server, the web API server, the proxy servers. So I don't know what the overall number is right now. I know that the game server is running well, not perfectly yet under Linux. I know some of the support servers are also running well under Linux. And when we say Linuxification, it doesn't mean every server, baby server we have has to be under Linux. But the big ones do, because that's where either the big ones or the ones we have a lot of do, because that's where you spend the money. And that's a big deal if you want to run this stuff, 24/7.
And also, how do you know how much of the game is on off-site servers?
Not sure what you mean by that, because we always run the game, off on off-site servers, other than some minor things we have here.
Nin Gileath asks, "Good afternoon, gentlemen. With the Abbot, is it possible to drink until a drunken state? And if so, how would that mechanically affect gameplay?"
That's a great Ben question, because I actually have no idea, what that is right now. I don't know where he is with that. So that's a great question for Ben.
Bughole asks, "How are you, Mr. Jacobs?"
Well, it's been a fantastic 3 weeks. Look, in all honesty, a little tired, a little drained. It's been rough. It's hard, when you have certain expectations, and those expectations aren't met. And this is not blaming anybody else. This is simply they weren't met. And when the reaction is as it was, pretty, obviously pretty negative, that hurts as well. But that's okay. And look, I knew it was coming. It was just a question of, like when and how bad it was going to be. And so, yeah, did that hurt? Yeah, it hurt me. It hurt the team. Again, not unexpected. But, there was a lot of nasty stuff said. And, fortunately, I know we can turn it around because, we always had a plan. And as you can see from, this update, we're moving forward really nicely on CU. And so, I think that the next 3 weeks are certainly going to be better than the last 3 weeks. I would like a vacation at some point. I haven't taken one in 3 years, so that would be nice. But other than that, hey, I'm fine. I mean, look, it's been an interesting career, and I've been through some amazingly interesting, times, and sometimes things are really good, sometimes they're really bad. And unfortunately, the last 3 weeks, well, a lot of it was bad. On the other hand, again, I knew what this team is capable of, and not terribly worried about it.
Green Jericho in the YouTube chat asks, "Will the new scenario be streamed/shown off for potential new backers to get involved?"
Absolutely. Look, we've been saying, I said this during, the February stream, other February streams, that, we want to lift the NDA on streaming, or the ban on streaming. And we're going to do that. We're going to start streaming, Ragnarok. We're going to start streaming CU. We're going to start streaming Cube more. As these games get into the shape that I knew they would get into, albeit it's taken us longer, of course, than we would have liked, I'm happy to stream it. I think, when you see what our engine can do and, what that means to gameplay, you should be willing to show off. And now that lighting, for example, is coming along nicely with this, and then the Sky Dome and the Sky Bowl and VFX and everything else is making the world look, even better. And at the same time, we can have hundreds, thousands of players and NPCs, in a battle. We should be willing to show it, and we will.
Riley Stang asks, "Will crafter classes make better use of siege weaponry in some way?"
Absolutely. They also make traps and bombs and other things. That was always my intent. If you go back to the Kickstarter, I talked about that. And so, yeah, we want to have the crafters having fun with some things that, they can use to help them survive all the mean, nasty combatants, who can't wait to kill them.
Brand asks a question that looks like a tongue twister. "Are wyverns friendly to their own realm, or universally unfriendly NPCs?"
Right now, so they're actually not, as the update said, we're not using them in combat right now, but they will be in the game, You'll see why. I'll explain it. I'll explain why I'm not giving it all away right now. But yes, you're going to see them. They will be useful, and we also want them to be cool.
Taladar asks, will players retain some rudimentary crafting after crafters? Will players retain some rudimentary crafting after crafters are implemented?
Oh, certainly for testing. Yeah, I want players. I want people to test the crafter class, but I also want players, at least during the earliest stages of beta, to craft as well. The more people we have crafting in beta, especially beta 1 and beta 2, the better. We want to find the flaws in the formulas. We want to find the bugs in the system. So the more that can do it, the better. Since none of this stuff carries over anyway, and even the way I've done the RGB system can get changed up at the drop of a hat. Having more people craft rather than fewer is a good thing.
Frequency asks, what is your philosophy towards streaming? Are any parts of the game being designed around the game being stream friendly?
For CU, the answer is, no. Specifically, right now, down the road, the answer will be yes. For example, the depths. And this goes back to even, 2013 with Bob, the floating eyeball. So yes, but not CU. I mean, not the current version of CU. When we get to the depths, that will change. Now, are we going to have some things that will be streamer friendly? Absolutely. But it isn't like we're designing any part of the game right now with streaming in mind, other than wouldn't it be friggin' cool to show, another great Builders Brigade building game blown up in real time.
IOG asks, will you do another pass on other existing abilities before the new scenario hits?
We probably should. Yes, we will be doing. Anthony just gave me the thumbs up. So the answer is yes. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus.
Jazzy Chef on YouTube chat asks, if you had to choose a class, which is your current favorite or most intriguing?
Oh, I can't. I can't ever comment on that. And this goes back to same with Dayak or Warhammer. I didn't like to talk about which is my favorite because then everyone remembers, and you know what happened because it happened with Mythic. Oh, Mythic likes X best. So all I can say is that when you look at the vision I had, for so many of the classes, it's safe to say there's a whole bunch of them I want to play. And you could probably take a good guess, knowing me, what my number one choice would probably be.
I just saw you wave twice.
Oh, saying hi to Shannon.
Oh. Hi, Shannon. A couple people want to know if we'll have NPC versions of people in game, including me.
Yeah, we should. We should put Max in game. He deserves it.
Some monstrous thing in the depths, no doubt.
No, we'll say that for other people. You know who you would have to be, though.
I do?
Yeah, you do. If we do a depth theme, who would you have to be?
The merchant.
Hey.
Oh, I never thought of that before. Wow.
My work
that
here
would be really cool, actually.
My work here is done. Hey, thanks so much, and catch you later.
Ooh, getting chills. He's a creepy villain. For those of you who haven't read the lore, he's a really creepy villain that Mark invented. Darlgon wants to know, how is your son doing?
Good. The reason why people are asking, or Dalgon is asking, is I had posted on the forums that my boy had surgery a week ago, and while the surgery was quite successful, we think his post-op sucked. Oh my God, it was bad. It was really, really bad. And talk about your bad timing, right? Already all the stress because of the announcement, and then my son goes in for surgery, and then has a bad reaction. Now, fortunately, he's fine. He's absolutely fine now. But the day after the surgery was, or the day of the surgery, it was quite unexpectedly horrific. So, doggone, thank you so much for asking. But he's doing great.
Bobo Dayak asks, just so I can be sure of what it means, what exactly are channeling abilities you mentioned earlier?
Do you mean channeling itself, or just what the abilities themselves are? Because if you want to talk abilities, that would be Ben. Channeling is just when you look at the different things you can have in terms of spells. Obviously, you have projectile spells. You have spells that can create an AOE. What we didn't have was a spell essentially that was, channeling power, channeling a damage spell that would keep up unless interrupted, things like that. Ongoing laser beam, that sort of stuff. We didn't have that, so now we will.
There are some plus ones for Max the Merchant. JM on YouTube says, this is Draxon. The IT server, for the most part, has in the past been mostly online. Is it feasible to leave it with an active build of the starter area where nothing changes?
If it would serve a purpose, sure. Again, this is one of the reasons, for Linuxification. I know it sounds awful that I keep saying it, but when you can reduce your costs by as much as 50%, and you're telling people that you're going to have a below average subscription price, getting 50% off is kind of a big thing. So yes, it is absolutely possible. And again, our goal, one of our absolute major goals with Linuxification was the ability to do just that. Leave stuff up all the time. Also have a robust enough system that if something goes down, it can be started up again, or if things get crowded, we can start up something else automatically. And we hadn't been able to do that before. We're actually testing that right now, and I've been testing it since about 12 o'clock today.
Are we in the 5-minute
yeah,
warning
let's
zone?
do 5-minute warning, guys. Because I do think I would really like to write up that piece on crafting for the newsletter.
More plus ones for Max the Merchant, and this is getting a lot of plus ones. Creepin' Real Hard says, not a question, but just wanted to thank Mark for his contributions to the world of MMOs and the community over the years. Still playing Dayak in War in 2020 and stoked for CU. And that is has a lot of the chat agreeing.
Thank you all very much. It is appreciated. And look, as tough as the last few weeks were, I think it is only going to get better from here. I know I've said that before, but the thing is, it always has. It has taken longer, but it has. When you, this is a great question. This is actually a great point to end on. So we'll end on this, unless you've got, a home run for your last question.
Great.
Okay. When you look at the things that we have done as a team, when you look at the accomplishments that we have made, when you look at how teams much larger than us, with a lot more money than us, have not been able to deliver what we have delivered on already today. We, as backers, like myself, and you as backers, or this team, should be proud of their effort. And I'm very proud of them. Even with the hate that was coming, I am super proud of their effort, because they kicked ass. We are delivering on stuff that is next level. And I know it's hard to see that at times, especially when we focus on it a lot. But you know what? It is. And because we are solving these things now, because we're doing the kind of testing we're doing now, not only does that mean we won't have to do it again, but we won't have to worry as much about it failing because we have already gone through the worst times with it. And look, we're all MMO players, and thank you for thanking me for my contributions. We've all played on games where they've had a lot of issues. And we wanted CU to be not one of those games. And thanks to the effort of the team, whether on engineering or art or design, we are getting there. And as you can see from today's update, and you'll see from other updates, we are getting there just as fast as we should. And that is testament to the work that we have already done. And I don't know the results for the last hour, but I can tell you the load and scale testing that we were doing has gone beautifully today. People coming in, people leaving, servers starting up, servers shutting down, all the things that they needed to do. We're hoping to have an IT-only test either this weekend or next weekend of that, as well as people who've been invited to be in on that IT test. If you are interested in that, just go to the forums. You'll see a thread where I'm looking for volunteers. Anyone is welcome to come in. We really want to, put more pressure on the systems, because that's how you create something great. It's not always about just the art. It's not always about the music. It's not even always about just the gameplay. It's about having a really, really solid foundation for this game. And that's what we're building, and that's what we're looking forward to showing you folks over the next few months. So with that, normally I would, immediately go into the goodbye, but Max, get your ass in front of the camera.
All right. Just that part of my anatomy, or the rest?
No,
of
let's
too?
not show that part. So again, Max, Max, I want to thank you again for your effort. You've been, absolutely outstanding. We are going to miss you. We appreciate everything you've done, and we absolutely wish you nothing but success, going forward. And by the way, today isn't Max's last day, but it is the last day we're going to do this, so it's kind of, the right thing to do. So Max, thank you very much. And by the way, the reason why I'm not giving him a hug is, and he can tell you, I'm not one of those guys. I'm not a good hugger. I'm the guy who kind of steps back and goes, no, sorry.
Andrew gave me one on Morning with Max, so we're all good.
Excellent. But so look, thanks to Max, we've been able to do this. Max made me a better writer because he edited my stuff, for God's sakes, because it needed it. Max contributed a lot to CU, whether it is, the stuff he was doing on the streaming side or the stuff, he was writing. Obviously, we still hope to do the Depths board game. And yeah, he's from a humble, hi, here's a fruit plate. I'd like to give you my resume.
I never lived it down, guys.
No, it's awesome. But it's not living it down. It's awesome. See, here's the thing. He thinks I'm making fun of him. I'm not. It was fucking awesome.
Good. Good. It made an impression.
No, it did. And that's the thing, right? You get people who just send in a resume and go, why haven't you responded to my amazing resume? And when you have a lot of people applying, sometimes it's hard to get the people. You came in with a friggin' fruit plate. That gets your attention. That shows you're willing to think, a little outside the box, to, be the kind of person who fits in a crazy place like this. So it's not a question of living it down, man. You should be proud of it. Seriously.
I am.
Yeah, you should be. I
It
love
fit the Meshuggah nature of everything.
It is, I know. I know. And for those who don't know what Meshuggah means, crazy. It's Yiddish.
That's for you, Iron Nightingale.
But it's not going to be the same place without him. And again, we wish him absolutely nothing, you know. And I've said the same thing to him. So that's why I'm looking at the camera and not at him. Nothing but the best going forward. He was a consummate professional for somebody who wasn't a professional in the game industry prior to this. And he did a great job. So again, Max, you know, thank you so much for what you've done. And, you know, do you want to thank the backers for their support?
I do, and I have more thank yous in the newsletter, and more. And I'll say thank you again on the last morning with Max, which will be on Monday. But thank you guys all so very, very much. Being at CSE has been an amazing, amazing adventure. It's been spectacular, and it wouldn't have been half so amazing without all of you wonderful people who have made it absolutely exciting, made all of this happen, and it's just a really, really good feeling. And thank you all very, very much. You've all been amazing people, and I consider you all friends. So reach out and say hello.
Good luck with that.
Thanks.
Don't start knocking on your door with fruit plates.
Yeah, well, you know, I like fruit.
I know you do. All right, look, so with that, as always, we thank you for your support. We thank you for your patience, especially now. And we hope that you're going to enjoy very much what you see from us in the upcoming couple of months. So have a great weekend. Stay safe. And see you all in a few weeks.
Shall we do it together?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
three.
See you later.
Bye, guys.